Forget the dusty textbooks. Today, we're diving deep into the incredible world of 15th century Africa. We'll uncover the giants like Mali, Songhai, and Congo, trace the flow of gold and salt across the Sahara, and see how these thriving societies laid the groundwork for everything that followed. Stick around because the last empire we cover built something so extraordinary, archaeologists refuse to believe Africans made it. That one will hit different. The Sahara's Golden Highway. Trans-Saharan trade. All right, let's start with the lifeblood of West Africa, the Trans-Saharan trade. For centuries, this was the superhighway of its time. Think of it as the Silk Road, but baked in the desert sun. Caravans, stretching for miles, braved the harsh sands, carrying essential goods. The big players? Gold, of course, flowing north from regions like modern-day Ghana, and salt, mined in the desert and desperately needed in the southern lands. This trade wasn't just about goods, it was about ideas, culture, and religion spreading like wildfire. Islam, for instance, made its way south, profoundly influencing the emerging empires. And the first empire to master this highway was one that made the whole world stop and stare. The Mali Empire's Golden Age. Before Songhai dominated, there was Mali, and Mali didn't just participate in global trade, it defined it. At its peak in the early 15th century, the Mali Empire controlled more gold than almost anywhere else on the planet. We're talking about roughly half of the world's gold supply passing through its hands. Let that sink in, half the world's gold. And then there's Mansa Musa. Even if you've never studied African history, you may have heard this name. His 1,324 pilgrimage to Mecca, just decades before our 15th century window, brought so much gold to Cairo and the Mediterranean that it literally crashed gold prices across Europe and the Middle East for over a decade. One man's religious journey destabilized the economies of multiple continents. That is power. That is influence. And it was African. By the 1400s, Mali's grip was loosening internal succession struggles, and the rise of ambitious provinces were pulling it apart. But the infrastructure it built, the trade routes, the cities, the scholarly culture didn't disappear. It was inherited by the empire that came next. And that empire? It ran with everything Mali built and went further. The mighty Songhai Empire. Enter the Songhai Empire. By the 15th century, Songhai was absolutely dominating West Africa. It rose from the ashes of the Mali Empire, and its capital, Gao, became a major center of commerce and Islamic scholarship. You might have heard of Timbuktu. Well, during Songhai's golden age, it was one of the most important cities in the world. We're talking universities, libraries packed with manuscripts, and scholars from across the globe. This wasn't some small kingdom. Songhai controlled key trade routes, levied taxes, and maintained a sophisticated administration. They were the undisputed heavyweight champions of the region. But the story doesn't end in the west. Let's head towards the coast. The Kingdom of Congo, a global connection. Now, this is where things get really interesting, especially when we consider global interactions. The Kingdom of Congo, located in Central Africa, was a highly organized state with a centralized monarchy, a complex bureaucracy, and a thriving economy based on agriculture and trade. What makes the 15th century unique for Congo? It's the dawn of sustained contact with Europeans, specifically the Portuguese. Initially, this contact was focused on trade ivory, copper, and yes, unfortunately, enslaved people. The Congo monarchy, particularly under King Nzinga, a Nkuwu who later took the Christian name João I, engaged with the Portuguese. They were curious, even adopting some European customs and Christianity. But this wasn't a simple takeover. The Congo actively negotiated, integrated, and sometimes resisted. It was a complex dance that would have massive, long-term consequences. And that brings us to the empire I promised you at the beginning, the one that still blows people's minds today.
Great Zimbabwe.
Great Zimbabwe and the Swahili coast. Let's shift southeast. You've probably seen pictures of the incredible stone ruins of Great Zimbabwe. Here's the thing, when European explorers first encountered these structures in the 19th century, many of them refused to believe Africans built them. They invented theories. Phoenicians, ancient aliens, anyone but the people who actually lived there. They were wrong. Great Zimbabwe was built, occupied, and thrived under the Shona people. And at its peak in the 15th century, it was the political and spiritual heart of a kingdom that controlled southern Africa's most valuable resource, gold. Its wealth came from controlling cattle husbandry and, crucially, gold mining and trade. Great Zimbabwe's gold found its way to the coast, connecting it to the vibrant Swahili city-states like Kilwa, Mombasa, and Zanzibar. These Swahili city-states were cosmopolitan melting pots, deeply integrated into Indian Ocean trade networks. They traded gold, ivory, and enslaved people with merchants from Arabia, Persia, and even India. It was a truly globalized world happening centuries before many realize. And the impact of all this? It's profound. The lasting impact. So, why does this 15th century snapshot matter so much today? Because these empires and trade networks weren't isolated incidents. They represent sophisticated political systems, advanced economic strategies, and rich cultural traditions that were developing independently and interacting globally. Think about what we covered. Mali moved so much gold, it reshaped economies on 3 continents. Songhai built universities when most of Europe was still recovering from the Black Death. Congo negotiated with foreign powers as an equal. And Great Zimbabwe raised stone walls without mortar that still stand today. Walls that made outsiders so uncomfortable, they had to invent myths just to explain them away. Understanding this era helps us move past outdated narratives and appreciate the complexity, innovation, and power that defined Africa long before European colonization became dominant. It's a history of agency, resilience, and incredible achievement. And the more people know it, the more completely the old story falls apart. What part of 15th century Africa absolutely blew your mind the most? Was it the intellectual powerhouse of Timbuktu, the global reach of Congo, or the sheer defiant brilliance of Great Zimbabwe? Let me know your biggest takeaway in the comments below. If you found this journey back in time as fascinating as I did, give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more deep dives into history's most incredible stories. We're exploring. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.